Good afternoon, everybody. Today I'm chatting with Andre Tessier from Delta Resources. In this interview, I ask Andre about his overall bull thesis for gold. I also ask him about what it's like to hit huge drill holes in a market where sentiment for junior mining companies is just not that strong. We also get into the company's cap table and what investors can expect over the remainder of the year. All right, everybody, enjoy the interview. Andre, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So it's the first time we've had you on, and I got to ask you, you are CEO of a gold company. Now, I'm sure that when you get up in the morning and you're getting out of bed, there's things you think about when you think about the overall gold market and where gold could be going. So I got to ask you, what's your thesis? Where do you think gold's going in the long run, and what gets you excited to get out of bed in the morning and work on a gold company?
Honestly, when I come out of bed, I really don't think about gold where it's going. It's been a cul-de-sac for the last couple of years. Listen, all the indicators are showing that gold should be much higher than what it is today. It's even taken a dip the last couple of days here. We are strong believers in gold. We think it will be higher in the coming years. But that said, to us, it's not completely irrelevant, but, we do our work, we increase our resource, we find more gold. And in the end, that's what my job is. You can't bother too much about the things you can't change.
So we actually got to meet at the Beaver Creek conference in Colorado. And one of the themes we kept hearing when we were chatting with different companies was that the commodity price is basically near all-time highs. I know it's a little lower now, but it's not too far off, yet there's just not a lot of interest in these junior names. What's your assessment right now of the junior space, and what do you think is going to make it turn?
Well, I think people are standing on the sideline right now, and they're waiting to jump in. I think the sentiment both at Beaver Creek, and I was actually at the Metal Investor Forum in Vancouver right after. I think the sentiment is that we're reaching the bottom of a low, and people are just waiting on the sideline to see what can trigger, and once it triggers, I think they're just waiting to jump in.
So let's turn the discussion to Delta Resources. As we do with all of our new guests, what's the high level sort of overview of Delta Resources?
Delta Resources is a junior explorer based out of Kingston, Ontario. We explore in Quebec and in Ontario. Got 101 million shares outstanding. We're trading in the neighborhood of a market cap of 16 million these days. We are all cashed up. We've got about $7.5 million treasury. And the most important is we've got one hell of a gold project. We made an outstanding discovery in 2022 that earned us the Discovery of the Year in Ontario for 2022. Right adjacent to the TransCanada Highway, we outlined a gold mineralized zone from surface to about 250 meters so far. It's still open at depth. It's got a strike length of, at this point, anywhere between 1.8 to 2.3 kilometers of strike length, and a width of anywhere between 10 to 100 meters, with grades, where it's nice and wide. We're looking at about 1.2, 1.5 grams. And as we get deeper, the zone appears to be narrowing a bit. And it gets higher grade, 5.9 grams, 6.5. So honestly, I think we've got a deposit that will eventually probably be mined out at some point, being so close to the highway.
So not to get too deep into the talking rock part, how would you describe the deposit from a geology standpoint?
It's what we call a disseminated gold deposit. It's a stockwork of veinlets in highly altered, deformed rocks. The veinlets are quartz, anchorite, pyrite, albite, and visible gold. And basically we're looking at a bulk tonnage scenario with an open pit. Again, we're like right next to the TransCanada Highway, 50 kilometers west of Thunder Bay. So it really doesn't get any better in terms of positioning.
So you guys have conducted 5 drill programs now. Is there any plans to do a resource estimate based on what you put together?
At this point, I think the next phase of drilling is going to be twofold. One is we are going to drill some holes within the zone to gain a better understanding of this beast. It's a big deposit. We're just getting started. We've only drilled about 25,000 meters, in the history of the property since 2019. So we're learning a lot about the deposit as we drill it. And in the second instance, we're going to be trying to basically expand on the deposit. So at this point, we're not really thinking resource estimate. We're thinking, let's make this deposit bigger. Let's show just what kind of potential the area has, and after that, we might consider looking into a resource. But right now, it's really not a priority. I think people can do the math. It's a pretty impressive panel of mineralized rock.
In regards to the firm's Delta-2 project, Delta talks at length about VMS deposits. What is the significance of this type of mineralization?
Well, VMS deposits are company makers. If you hit a good VMS deposit, then your company is on its way. You think of the Norandas, the Falcon Bridge. These are companies that were made on base metal deposits. Caminco is another example. So, they're very important. Now, the deposit that we're chasing there is a VMS. It's a relatively basically the one that's there is relatively small, but they always occur in clusters, these deposits. And the one that we looked at has got about 750,000 tons. So again, it's not very big, but it was 9.5% zinc, 4.2% copper, 5.5 grams per ton gold, and 82 grams silver. So on its own, it was a gold deposit, but it had all the credits of the copper, the zinc, and the silver. Now that said, that project, although we're still really keen on it, at this point it's taken a bit of a back burner because our flagship at Delta-1 in Thunder Bay has really taken off, and really, I believe that's where our investors want us to focus right now.
So we're obviously talking about junior mining here. I got to ask you a question about the cap table. What can you tell us about your shareholder base, sort of how the shares are positioned, what prices people have paid, and some of the notable investors in the company?
Well, excuse me. Delta's really, really lucky in a way. We've got still $7.5 million in the bank. We financed a bought deal in May of $10 million, and we financed that at 45 cents. That was an all institutional, except for about $1.5 million that was done with insiders and management. So, again, we're in a good cash position. All these people invest at 45 cents, so obviously they're holders. Our structure, I guess, share structure, we're looking at about 22% institutional or something like that. Like I said, that whole last financing was institutional. Then with management and insiders own probably about 6 to 7%, and the rest is retail.
So how challenging is it to manage your shareholder base in this type of market? I know that there's a lot of distress out there amongst retail investors, and something I chat about sometimes with junior mining CEOs is if we look at Great Bear and the success they had, it's kind of like they managed to just announce their drill holes at the beginning of a great junior market, and they kept drilling, and it was just like every raise was higher and higher and higher, and then poof, they're taken out. It's basically unheard of. Whereas here, you guys have hit some pretty significant drill holes, and your stock hasn't necessarily performed. How challenging is that, given the overall sentiment of the market and just trying to communicate to your shareholders?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because originally the Great Bear story is what Delta was compared to, in the markets. I still think we compare fairly well. Market sentiment is very different now than what it was then. again, it's a little bit like gold price. You do what you got to do. You try to expand the resource. It'd be really nice if the markets responded positively to our news, because so far we have not gotten very, very poor or results that we would deem to not be of interest. So, you just do your thing. We're extremely lucky again that we've got money in the bank, so we can do our work, and we're just going to hope that the markets realize where we are and how big this deposit is.
For investors watching, any timelines or milestones they should be watching out for over the remainder of the year?
Yeah, we've just completed a 20,000 meter drilling program. We've got 26 drill holes that are still pending, so the results are not out yet, and they're going to be coming out. I don't like putting out results out of order, so if I put out drill holes number 50, 51, 52, 53, so that's what I'll do. We're looking at probably putting out results, 5 or 6 drill holes at a time until well into November, I think. We are also planning another phase of drilling in probably starting in November. And in the meanwhile, we are doing an IP survey on the zone that we know, to get a good signature on it. And we're going to expand that survey along the mineralized and altered corridor that we have now outlined, to see if there's good areas within that zone to drill. So we're going to be using a multidisciplinary method. We're going to use mag, we're going to use resistivity, chargeability, geochemistry, and structural geology. And from what we know of the deposit now, we should be able to vector onto mineralized zones elsewhere in the corridor.
Well, Andre, thanks so much for hopping on here, and hopefully you'll come back on in the future as the story continues to unfold.
It was my pleasure, and yeah, it'd be a pleasure to come back, and we'll have good news next time we come around.
All right, everybody, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this interview, please smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Also, let me know what you think in the comment section. All right, thanks, everybody.